Greetings and welcome to Sport 101, that show that discusses sport beyond the X's and O's. Excuse me. Here at Sports 101, we like to expand our conversation to include the history, past, present, as well as in the making. And we also look at the game from a people, places, and cultural perspective. I'm your host, Jamar Harp. Be sure to follow me on social media, on Twitter at Coach_Harp412 and Facebook under Jamar Harp. Please make sure you get social with SportsZone Chicago and its litany of other shows by following SportsZone Chicago on social media. SportsZone Chicago is the world's only Black-owned sports talk app, and we need everyone's support to make this grow. You can find SportsZone Chicago on Twitter at SportsZoneCHI, Facebook at SportsZone Chicago, and Instagram at SportsZone Chicago. Remember, SportsZone Chicago is a sports talk app. You can watch and listen to my show, Sports 101, Sean and Maya in the Morning, Second Cities, Smoke Fellas, see Ivan Vargas, future star in the making, who should be on ESPN. Keep up with breaking news from your favorite sport. If you miss something, forget about it. Don't worry about it. You can you can go to YouTube and search Sports Zone Chicago, add our YouTube channel. But more importantly, we want everyone to download the Sports Zone Chicago app. The Sports Zone Chicago app can be found in the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Now I would like to talk about this week's episode, which is HBCU recruiting, the Black College Hall of Fame, and the Celebration Bowl. If you live under a rock, you may not know this, but today was the first day of the early signing day for collegiate football. And today, Jackson State University of the Southwestern Athletic Conference made history. Well, one stroke of the pen, remember they say the pen is mightier than the sword, and a click of a mouse. The number one prospect in the nation, Travis Hunter, a wide receiver, defensive back out of Swanee, Georgia, changed the entire outlook of Black college football today, tomorrow, and for many years to come. What he actually did was had a renaissance and took it back to what Black college was before integration, the top football, and it was supported by African Americans as well as other people throughout the diaspora. Again, Travis Hunter is the number one prospect in the United States. And the day Deion Sanders flipped him, or Coach Sanders, from Florida State, Auburn, and the University of Georgia. His number one school was Florida State, and he had been committed to them for over a year now. The reason he loved Florida State is because he's a defensive back as well as a wide receiver, and he loves Deion Sanders. He's originally from Fort Myers, Florida, but due to violence and his family wanting him to live a little better, they relocated to Swanee, Georgia in ninth grade. Today, Travis Hunter was one of the top trending topics on Twitter. If you went to his name and registered it with the Twitter metrics, about 34 million results, which is 0.57 seconds on Google. That's how much he was tweeted today and look for on social media. These statistics are standard for BCS recruits or Power 5 recruits, however, having an HBCU alongside his name on ESPN, Fox Sports 1, and a variety of other social media outlets. And for that to come up in the search engine boxes is alluring. So I want to show you a title video of what happened today in regards to Mr. Hunter and his signing.
You already knew I am, Travis Hunter, but I got a lot to say right now. I mean, I'm really speechless, but I really got a lot to say. I appreciate all my teammates for helping me get to where I'm at. I appreciate y'all for just pushing me every day and showing that y'all following my footsteps and wishing me to be great. I thank all the coaches, especially Coach Fontaine, for taking me in as a freshman. Since day one, he seen something in me that nobody else seen. Just always coming to pick me and make sure I had someone to eat, make sure I had somewhere to stay every night. Because when I first got up there, I really ain't had no friends. I really just came up here and just thought football, no school work, no nothing. And I really thank Dr. Chuck and Ms. Williams for actually helping me and looking out for me in my classes, really pushing me to get my grades up. And I want to thank Coach Bear for just always trusting in the whole team and trusting me to be the leader of this class. I want to thank Coach Dante, Coach Walford. I want to thank all the coaches just for really pushing me and pushing me to be great and be who I am today. That being said, I got 3 acts up here. Florida State, but this will look real good too, but that ain't my choice.
Yeah.
This will look real good too, but I'm gonna say that for later. I don't like this one. It fit me well, but that ain't who I want to be. It's always been on my mind. But check me out, Mom. Throw me that hat.
You all prime time.
Appreciate Dion for giving me this opportunity. This is a lifetime opportunity. I'm out.
Hey, and the coach got leave. And the coach got leave.
All right, again, so that was Travis Hunter, the #1 player in the United States of America, signing with one AA school, in particular, historically black college that competes on a one AA level. So let's let that sink in for a minute. This is the #1 player in the United States. Most people expected him to go in the SEC, to one of the traditional blue bloods. However, not only did he spurn them, he spurned the ACC, the Pac-12, Big 12, as well as many other prominent FCS conferences, which is the one AA level, to come to Jackson State. Travis Hunter's reasoning was he wanted to be the best and he wanted to learn from the best. And he thought Deion Sanders was the best cornerback that ever lived. Again, he idolized him growing up, was the reason he wanted to go to Florida State. So this is monumental. This is something that's never been done in history before. Obviously, before integration, the top African-American athletes went to historically black colleges and universities, and all that changed once integration hit. But before that, they didn't really have signing days. So this is a moment in history that we just witnessed today. Again, the #1 prospect in the state, in the country, turning down the Blue Bloods for a one AA team, in particular HBCU. Now, later on today, he did tweet with Shador and some other players of Jackson State as they were just arriving in Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl. He plans to be down there tonight, and you'll probably see him on TV at the Celebration Bowl tomorrow, as well as hear his name on ESPN, Paul Feinbaum, Colin Cowherd. Every major sports outlet is going to sing the praises or the hatred of Travis Hunter, saying that he did wrong, turning down, and they're going to talk bad about black colleges. But again, what also he's doing is, as a #1 recruit, he changed Florida State's class, and we'll talk about that a little later. So he's telling other people that look like him, along with the first class of Coach Sanders, which his son Shador, Deshaun Warren, who turned down Georgia, the #1 cornerback last year in junior college, and to really build something to ultimately beat a SEC team. So with Mr. Hunter singing the praises of Coach Sanders, along with getting other Power 5, and I say that tongue-in-cheek because, again, before integration, the top black athletes, they only went to a black college. I talk about this in another show, how if you look at the movie Cooley High, one of the protagonists, he was going to go play basketball at Grambling, and Cooley High set in Philadelphia. So again, that just shows you the power that historically black colleges had, and what Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders, and many others are trying to recoup. And what the young folks say is the For the Culture movement. So in high school, in 4 years, Travis Hunter had 263 receptions, 3,807 yards. He averaged 14.5 yards per catch and had 46 touchdowns. So I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to see it for yourself. Here's a clip of Travis Hunter's high school highlights.
Martin Lawrence, I'm a bad boy. When I got off my ass and got to the cash and got in my bag, boy. Please don't think it's sweet, I stay with the heat even though I'm a sad boy. You better watch the way you breathe around me for that breath be last, boy.
I've been drinking red rats, boy. I've been trapping out these birds, McCoy. No one bet my rich a million 9 months. Overseas, honey skin, bitch, croissant.
Wreck the GTR, I love the crash car. I'm a bad boy, so I got a bad bride. Futuristic ride, imported from Mars. Smith and Wesson 45, put a hole in his heart. Better not play with me, kills they stay with me, yo, but he lay with me. She fell in love with my eyes, shit a hockey ring. Come to kick it, I'm not on the soccer team. You won't make it, it's part of my prophecy. Rap Simmons, match my prodigy. I'ma do the dash, get to the bag, ain't no one as bad as me. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, I'm a bad boy. When I got off my ass and got to the cash and got in my bag, boy. Please don't think it's sweet, I stay with the heat even though I'm a sad boy. You better watch the way you breathe around me for that breath be last, boy.
I've been drinking red rats, boy. I've been trapping out these birds, McCoy. No one bet my rich a million 9 months. Overseas, honey skin, bitch, croissant. Sticky, Ricky, I smoke Skittles, not no sticky. I shot at his money, now he no longer mention me. You say you won't smoke and I've been coming down the chimney. You got barbecue, your bitches are so fried and they crispy. I had all my jealous when I shot at the cunt. Act like you on war and they gon' smoke it like a blunt. I'm just
Dozens of fans packed the parking lot of the
All right, so right there, you can see why Travis Hunter was considered one of the top athletes or the top athlete in the United States, and why so many people wanted him. Florida State had even said they were giving him 20 plays on offense per game just to show his abilities, but they were going to bring him in to start at cornerback again. Um, his idol was Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, he called himself the next Deion Sanders, actually, and his goal was to be just like his idol and attend Florida State. So after those highlights, again, his team went on to win last week the 2021 Georgia 7A state champion. And as you can see from the video, his final choices perceivably were Florida State, Auburn, and Georgia. This has never been done in history before. Again, an FCS team getting the number one player in the country is unheard of, let alone a historically black college. The signing shows change in the culture of the current student athlete, who are again representing the for the culture movement that they're stating, in which is that they recognize the lack of connection to predominantly white institutions for many stories and people going there outside of athletics. They're recognizing the history of historically black colleges and universities before integration. And then more recently, the catalyst, which I believe that started this reaction or chain of events, in particular to athletics, which I hope carries on to business and other ventures in our everyday lives. Because again, that's what other races do to improve themselves. Was the murders of George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, and countless others. Also, professional athletes begin to speak out. LeBron James, most notably Colin Kaepernick, and we know that high school and college athletes mimic professional athletes. So with the professionals speaking on this, it was only common sense that the high schools would come out as well too. So what does this relate to? This relates back to, again, the 1975 draft. That's one of the last drafts in which you saw multiple players from historically black colleges picked in the first round. This started in this culminated in 1975. There's been first round picks after that, most notably Steve McNair, who went to the Houston Oilers. But the 1975 draft was one of the last drafts where you saw multiple black college players drafted not only in the first round but in the top 10. So remember, before the 1970s, it was commonplace to see black college players, and particularly from the SWAC and the MEAC. The CIAA and SIC did have some, but most notably, the majority of them came from the MEAC and the SWAC. If you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers dynasties from the 1970s, a lot of black college players, even Bill Walsh's dynasty in the early 90s, featured not only an offense from black college, which he took from Archie Glunseger Cooley, but two players, Jerry Rice from Mississippi Valley State and John Taylor from Delaware State. So again, let's look at this 1975 draft and see which black college players were drafted in the top 10. At the number 4 pick, we got right here, Sweetness himself, Chicago, Walter Payton, who was again the number 4 pick in the 1975 NFL draft out of Jackson State University, who was drafted by the Chicago Bears, had a Hall of Fame career. What we found out later after the Super Bowl win, that he was really hurt by that. Refrigerator Perry scoring, and he didn't score in the Super Bowl. And that's something that haunted him. Mike Ditka found out that if he really meant that much to him, he would have, let Walter score in the Super Bowl. But he wasn't really thinking like that. So again, the great Walter Payton right here, number 4 pick in the 1974 NFL draft out of Jackson State University. Again, Travis Hunter mentioned him as well, and some of the reasons he chose. This next gentleman right here was the number 6 pick in the 1975 NFL draft, and Walter Payton's teammate. He was also named Walter. His name was Walter Dr. Doom Brazil, who was a linebacker out of Jackson State, had a long Hall of Fame career, and he was drafted by the Houston Oilers. Next, we go to the Titans of black college football, what again, so many in the NFL Hall of Fame, In 1975, the number 8 pick in the NFL draft. Again, these are top 10 picks, not first round, top 10. The number 8 pick was Gary Big Hands Johnson, a defensive lineman out of Grambling State University, who was drafted number 8 overall by the San Diego Chargers. Again, there was many others that probably could have, no, excuse me, I take that back. There was many others that should have been drafted, not only in the first round, but in later rounds as well. But due to the racism at the time, there was only a select few that were brought in. Again, these numbers in 1975 were similar to previous years before integration because HBCUs got the best athletes. How do we know this? We look at Grambling State University. Grambling State, everyone talks about LSU now, especially after their magical championship run a few years ago. But the school with the most people in the NFL Hall of Fame in Louisiana is Grambling State University. We always talk about Louisiana because per capita, they have the most people in the NFL right now. They're a college hotbed, and again, before integration, we're the most feared team in the land. With recent incidents, again, involving police brutality, murdering of Africans in the diaspora, not only in America, but other places in the country, in the world, political instability, and seeing the condition of the people in America are moving these young people for this cultural movement. Again, this cultural movement, if we look at the impact directly related to early signing day this morning, has caused a great paradigm shift, especially in athletics, with the top student athletes who, again, after integration, due to the facilities arms race that predominantly white institutions implemented, as well as other factors, marketing and some other factors, to entice the African-American athlete to go to their schools, obviously declined the historically black colleges that they went to since the beginning of time, because there was, well, not since the beginning of time, since after the Civil War, most started around the 1870s and later, early 1900s, that's the only place they could go. So they're recognized this is a historical choice, seeing that their talent is a gift anyway, and most, if you're talented, if you'll go there. So they're choosing HBCUs. Another factor would be these celebrity coaches that are coming in. Coach Eddie George, Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Hugh Jackson, Coach Tyrone Wheatley, Coach Sean Gilbert, and many other countless pros that are in the collegiate ranks are enticing the players to come in by giving them instruction that no one else can give them because of their professional profile. Today, also, Jackson State signed Indiana and Texas A&M transfer Cameron Buckley. Cameron Buckley is 6'2", 200 pounds. He's a wide receiver. He last played at Texas A&M. He was hurt last year at the University of Indiana, so he did not play. But himself signed today, and there's countless others that will be coming in as well. Again, the signing day took place throughout the day. So as I wrote my script, I was not able to get all the players in. So we'll do a rehash on that later. But there was more dominant names that you normally want to see on the FCS level, in particular, continuing the wave of BCS transfers to historically black colleges. I was on a podcast last night, and I was telling them about Duke University, which is right down the street from North Carolina Central. So when I was in college, we used to do something on Wednesdays. It was called Chicken Wednesdays. And we have a DJ in the cafeteria. And then due to the time scheduling on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they would have a 10:40 break. So a 10:40 break was about an hour and 20 minutes where you had no classes, and they would do different activities on campus, also known as the yard. It was also a time when people would congregate in certain areas. If you were on a certain sports team, fraternity, sorority, etc., everybody had their little area they would congregate in. Well, at 10:40 break at Duke University, they have something called a black tree, and that's where the African-American students congregate and stand under. With that being said, we will oftentimes see students, in particular the student athletes from Duke and UNC Chapel Hill in our cafeteria at North Carolina Central, again, because they recognized, the culture that was there and they knew that they were only where they were at just to play a sport. So anytime they had free time, they wouldn't be there. So now these players are just saying we're and Coach Lavelle Moton of North Carolina Central, I would be remiss not to say his name, as he does this in basketball as well, and is a great basketball coach. And if the same thing happens in football that it does in basketball, then Coach Lavelle Moton will be beating a Kentucky or Duke or UNC Chapel Hill. Because again, if the best athletes went to historically black colleges that were of African American descent, there wouldn't be no question who would be the top five would be in all sports. Um, so getting back to signing day, there'll be more players that sign today, and there's more that's going to sign and transfer in the next signing window, which is in February. So we have players such as Walter Payton from Jackson State, Jerry Rice from Mississippi Valley State, Bullet Bob Hayes from Florida A&M, Mel Blunt from Southern. He was one of those great Pittsburgh Steelers, and his son Jabri Blunt played basketball at North Carolina Central and was signed this year as a free agent tight end with the Miami Dolphins. Michael Strahan from Texas Southern, and countless others, and particularly the long list of Hall of Famers from Grambling State University are widely recognized as all-time greats and members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So if we look at the past 25 years, some of the black college stars that make splashes or impact in the NFL include Steve McNair from Alcorn State, Racine Mathis from Bethune-Cookman, our sack master Robert Mathis, root to the Qs, NE, Alabama A&M, and Darius Leonard, root to the Qs, Zasai, South Carolina State. Also, shout out brother Steve McNair, great bruh that passed away untimely due to unforeseen circumstances. All this adds up to the high degree and pride already displayed by HBCU grads, but then again, when you couple that with celebrity coaching, advancement in facilities, and a cultural and mind shift in the young student athletes, they're saying they feel like they're being used by these institutions, and if they all went to a black college, then they would beat the Ole Miss or Mississippi State. All these factors are leading into this paradigm shift and these quote unquote Power Five athletes coming back home to historically black colleges and universities. It also makes other high profile recruits seriously consider going to black college if more and more people start to sign there and the facilities begin to increase. Now with the name, image, and likeness agreement, in which Travis Hunter has one that's worth $1 million, I believe, they can receive the same level of media coverage and compensation, as well as compete against elite players with the hopes of one day going pro, similar as they would have at a predominantly white institution. Again, the mega signing of Jackson State directly impacts both Florida A&M and Florida State. It impacts Florida A&M because Jackson State, with the newly realigned Southwestern Athletic Conference, they're both rivals in the Eastern Division. This year on September 5th, the teams faced off in the Orange Blossom Classic in Miami Gardens, with Jackson State barely edging the Florida A&M Rattlers 7-6 to open the 2021 season. This proved to be a difference maker in the final standings, as Jackson State posted an undefeated 8-0 record in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and as well as their non-conference games. Their only loss coming to BCS opponent University of Louisiana Monroe, in which they lost 12-9. After that game, Terry Bowden said he played many black colleges before. He was actually scared to lose. That was the toughest black college team he played, and he wouldn't play them again. Jackson State, later on in the season, they made a change at offensive coordinator, bringing in former offensive coordinator T.C. Taylor of North Carolina Central University, in its last prolific run, winning 3 MEAC championships back-to-back. He was an offensive coordinator under Jerry Mack, who was now the running backs coach at the University of Tennessee. So with Coach T.C. Taylor coming in and changing the offense in the middle of the season, he gave birth to Jackson State offense as a whole. So many think if he was the coordinator at the beginning of the season, they would have beat ULM and would have had a BCS victory, similar to what Coach Mike London and his guru offensive coordinator, Brennan Marion, who hails from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who is currently the wide receiver coach at the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm telling you right now, when you talk about future head coaches, look out for the name Brennan Marion and the go-go offense. Very hard to stop, puts a lot of points up, uses a lot of tempo. Brennan Marion, future head coach. So again, Jackson State and Florida A&M were the two best programs in HBCU football this fall. So with Jackson State getting the number one recruit in the country, fam, you got to step their game up. Both teams were ranked in the FCS top 25 and clinched postseason berths. The Jackson State Tigers, being the Southwestern Athletic Conference champions, will play at a Celebration Bowl. Florida A&M participated in the FCS playoffs and lost in the first round to Southeastern Louisiana. Although Coach Sanders and Coach Willie Simmons of Florida A&M are coaching competitors, the head football coach of Florida A&M understands the magnitude of Wednesday's historic signing of Jackson State getting Travis Hunter, the number one player in the United States. Coach Simmons, was quoted as saying, "This is a huge day for historically black college football." He also stated he would have loved for Travis Hunter to come to Florida A&M, but he's happy for Jackson State. Coach Prime continues to show he's the right man for the job, and he's looking forward to their rematch again this fall. Florida State also feels the ramifications of the Travis Hunter flipping to Jackson State. Florida State also missed out on a 4-star defensive tackle, Tyree West, who had been trending towards Florida State, but ultimately went to Tennessee. They also lost defensive line target Naylik Kelly, who signed with Miami. He was another Florida State player that they wanted to bring into Tallahassee, along with defensive end and FSU legacy player Marvin Jones Jr., who decommitted at the last minute and signed to Georgia. So you can see the chain of events that led to Travis Hunter going to Jackson State and what happened once he saw that. You see these other top players saying, well, I don't want to go to Florida State anymore, but there's even some saying, do we even want to go to a Power 5 school because of just what I'm hearing and what I feel in my heart and spirit, and I want to be a part of this movement. The Hunter miss was far from the Seminoles' only mishap on this first day of the signing period. They still have a 4-star offensive lineman, Julian Armello, on the radar, but he's delayed his decision until February. So no telling what's going to happen at Florida State and to their head coach, Jay Norvell. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back from Sports 101, we'll continue to talk about today's incidences and recruiting, National Signing Day. We'll go into the Celebration Bowl and the Black College Hall of Fame. This is Sports 101. I'm your host, Jamar Harp, and we will be right back.
Please stop and listen, because this important message may directly apply to you or someone dear to you. Several thousand African American former full-time CPS teachers were unfairly terminated starting in the mid-90s and continuing to the 2000s. If you are one of those many former CPS teachers who was unjustly terminated, or if you are the immediate relative of a now deceased unjustly terminated former CPS teacher, you may qualify to participate in a lawsuit at no upfront cost to you. Please call 773-580-7183 immediately for more information. That's 773-580-7183. Do not delay. Act today, because time is of the essence. That's 773-580-7183. 773-580-7183.
Welcome back. I am your host, Jamar Harp, and this is Sports 101, the show that discusses sport beyond the X's and O's. We like to talk about the game from a people, places, and cultural perspective, and also through the lens of history, the past, the present, as well as in the making. Please make sure you get social with Sports 101 and the litany of other shows on SportsZone Chicago by following SportsZone Chicago on social media. You can find SportsZone Chicago on Twitter at SportsZoneCHI, Facebook at SportsZone Chicago, and Instagram at SportsZone Chicago. Remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel, search SportsZone Chicago, but more importantly, we need everyone to download the SportsZone Chicago app. The SportsZone Chicago app is the only Black-owned sports talk app of its kind in the world, and we want everyone to join us to make this a rival to ESPN and any other sports talk platform. You can find SportsZone Chicago on the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Now, going back to our conversation, we're going to talk about the Celebration Bowl. This year, Jackson State of the Southwestern Athletic Conference will face the champions of the Middle-Eastern Athletic Conference, South Carolina State University. Here's a quick video of the going away of Jackson State as they head to Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl.
Dozens of fans packed the parking lot of the Walter Payton Complex, cheering on the Jackson State football team as they prepared to leave for Atlanta this morning. Fans, how are you feeling this morning? The Jackson State National Alumni Association hosts a send-off before every away game. But this one was special since the team was heading out for the Celebration Bowl.
As you can see, we have tons of alumni here cheering them on. We also have some fans waiting at the airport as well. Jackson State has always been great. Now the world gets to see how great we are. So it's exciting times. It's a great day to be a Tiger.
The Tigers won the SWAC championship after a near-perfect season. Fans say they've waited a long time for this moment.
This is the first time ever, so it's a very, very big deal. It's been a long and exciting season, the longest ever, and we've enjoyed every minute of it.
It feels amazing because we were there when things weren't going so well. But now that we're winning, it's even better.
Oh, Tigers!
The team is hoping to get another win and bring the Celebration Bowl trophy back to Jackson this weekend.
We want to go out with a bang and really just have some fun. You know, everybody get in the game and just really turn up in the A.
And fans I talked to today say they can't wait to make their way to Atlanta to support them.
We're leaving tomorrow and so excited. Already there mentally.
I'll be leaving Thursday morning, headed to Atlanta.
Friday, getting on the plane.
On Friday, there will be an alumni meet and greet in Atlanta, and on Saturday morning, there will be a band jamboree. Kickoff is Saturday at noon at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. In Jackson, Leah Williams, 12 News.
All right, so right there you saw preparations for the 2021 Celebration Bowl of Jackson State. Now, South Carolina State, who also has a great history with a lot of great players. We talked about Darius Leonard, who is currently playing, but they have so many other great players. Deacon Jones is one that comes to mind from Jackson State. So they also have a rich history and tradition, as well as a strong fan base that will be traveling from Orangeburg to Atlanta as well. So the 2021 Celebration Bowl is a college bowl game that is scheduled to be played this Saturday, December 18th, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. The game will be broadcast live on ABC. So everyone, please watch the Celebration Bowl this Saturday. This will be the 6th edition of the Celebration Bowl and will be the only one of the 2021-22 bowl games that feature FCS teams. So this is the only FCS bowl games, whether you're a fan of the MEAC, the SWAC, the CAA, the Big South, the Colonial Athletic Association, Ivy League, any other FCS conference. This is your bowl game, so please tune in. The Celebration Bowl this year is sponsored by Cricket Wireless, and the game is officially changed to the Cricket Celebration Bowl. Now, every bowl game has to take on a sponsor. The Celebration Bowl is the successor of the two previous bowl games between the MEAC and SWAC, the Pelican Bowl and Heritage Bowl. After these bowl games, again, between the two FCS or Division I historically Black college and university conferences, they will name a de facto Black college champion. Because the Celebration Bowl takes place during the FCS playoff tournament, neither the SWAC nor the MEAC can send their champion to the tournament. In previous years, the Celebration Bowl was won by MEAC teams, except 1 year when Grambling State beat North Carolina Central 10-9. All previous years, North Carolina A&T beat Alcorn State. This year is going to be a very tight matchup with the vaunted Jackson State defense, along with Shaq Davis, number one receiver, 6'5" receiver in the MEAC and for South Carolina State. And we can see what he does against Deshaun Warren and these other Jackson State corners. We'll see if South Carolina's quarterback can get the ball off with that D-line. He's only going to have a few seconds. And to see what type of game plan Coach Buddy Pugh has for Coach Sanders. I think it's going to be a great game. And I encourage everybody, if you can't make it there, please watch on ABC. Again, due to the Celebration Bowl being played in the playoffs, the champions forfeit their right to the FCS playoffs. The Celebration Bowl also has a ticket in regards to each team gets $1 million, and the winner, I think, gets maybe close to $3 million this year, versus the FCS playoffs where you don't make any money unless you host a home game. So let's take, for example, this year's playoff game between Florida A&M. Florida A&M went to the FCS playoffs because they were ranked in the top 25, even though they were not a conference champion. We know in the other FCS conferences, some of them conferences, Missouri Valley in particular, get 5 teams in, where there was only one team from the SWAC or MEAC. So it's theoretically, you can say that the champion and plus one other team from the MEAC or SWAC should be able to go to the playoffs. But this year, Southeastern Louisiana won the bid to host the game. So even though Florida A&M was in the playoffs, they received 0 funds as they did not host the home game. This still shouldn't deter historically Black colleges and universities from attempting to go through the playoffs. I think that's necessary to get the notoriety, and also to get more recruits to flip from BCS schools. If you can beat schools like North Dakota State, James Madison, who I believe is going to BCS, the Appalachian States, a former FCS school that's BCS, the Youngstown States, the Sam Houstons, who's also going to BCS, until teams for the MEAC and SWAC start to beat these schools, their conference notoriety, i.e. strength of schedule, is going to remain low. So that's going to give the selection committee reasons to only pick one team from the conference. So at the time the Celebration Bowl was inaugurated, the SWAC's regular season already extended too late into the year for the champion to enter the FCS playoffs. Because remember, most times you have to equate the Bayou Classic in this as well. While the MEAC dropped this automatic bid to the FCS playoffs in order to send its champion to the Celebration Bowl, saying the money was more important to us right now. The Celebration Bowl was organized by ESPN Events, also runs the MEAC SWAC Challenge. The MEAC SWAC Challenge is one of the kickoff games to start the season between the MEAC and SWAC team. This year, North Carolina Central defeated Alcorn State in the MEAC SWAC Challenge in Atlanta, Georgia. And again, that's the annual interconference game between the two conferences, which is held over Labor Day weekend. The Celebration Bowl was sponsored by the Air Force Reserve for the first 3 years, 2015, 16, and again the 17, 18 season. But Cricket Wireless signed on in 2020 as a title sponsor, changing its name to the Cricket Celebration Bowl. Coach Sanders has already stated that Atlanta is his house, and with the success of Jackson State this year, the game is sold out. There's an expected 75,000 fans to come. Again, this is a HBCU FCS bowl game. So what the world doesn't know is usually the MEAC and the SWAC leads the FCS in attendance every year. So the world will get to see not only the fan support, but the type of brand of football that the MEAC and SWAC plays, and again, which will hopefully entice more people to flip from BCS and or Power 5 conferences. So there's an expected 75,000 spectators to be in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They had to open up different levels. Usually they only open the lower levels, but with this such a crowd showing, again, so many people coming to see Coach Sanders who are Falcons fans, other historically Black college fans. You got your MEAC, you got your SWAC fans. as well as your football enthusiasts. So it's going to be a great day in Atlanta, not only for the game, but just all the pageantry and pomp and circumstance and the preparation, the tailgate, the fifth quarter, a step show, career fair, as well as the Hall of Fame or so many other events going on. It's a great weekend for historically black college football. So what Mercedes-Benz Stadium did was, due to all these large number of tickets, they sold 1,000 more tickets for $40 at standing room only. That's the last tickets they opened for the Celebration Bowl due to this sellout. Again, tied with the Celebration Bowl this year and every year is a Black College Hall of Fame, which you see the logo picture right there. The Black College Hall of Fame was founded in 2009 by former Grambling State and African-American pioneers at quarterback, James Shaq Harris, who was the first black quarterback to start in the NFL in the modern era, and Doug Williams, both of Grambling State University. Of course, Doug Williams, we know him from the first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl. And again, they started this organization or Hall of Fame to preserve the players, coaches, and contributors from historically black colleges and universities that nobody would have been forgotten in the regular collegiate Hall of Fame. Since its inception, there's been 90 inductees, including Mel Blount, James Shaq Harris, Willie Lanier, Art Shell, and Doug Williams, who serve as trustees. The Black College Hall of Fame is presented annually by the Shaq Harris and Doug Williams Foundation. That foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit tax-exempt organization. So if you feel free to Google them and would like to share some time, resources, or financially contribute, please feel free. Black college football began play in 1892 with segregation in place and was well established and heavily managed with Jim Crow laws. The first HBCU game was between Biddle Institute, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, and Livingstone College, my current employer. The game was played on the front lawn of Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina, and was a tight, contested game. Due to the snow, there was a missed call at the end of the game, a touchdown for Livingstone. So Biddle ended up winning the game 7-6 on that controversial call. Following World War I, the sport of college football ignited the passions of patriotism, which is love and pride for one's country, pride for their school and spirit, as America had found a new pastime. Before that, it was baseball. From the cotton fields of the South to the slums of major cities up north, you found young African-American boys dreaming of glory in this newfound game. But the only problem was that they couldn't play the sport wherever they wanted due to the racism, segregation, and Jim Crow at the time, which is why you found so many others, or so many going to, if you look at Grambling again, they recruited nationally because, again, the only places you can go is historically black colleges. So you see these great Grambling and Tennessee State or Grambling and Morgan State games in Yankee Stadium at the time, through the work of Carly J. Nickerson, Grambling State's innovative sports information director. For more than 70 years, young black college-bound football players flocked to black colleges and universities, and it wasn't until integration hit that you saw this shift in regarding the predominantly white institutions and their facilities arms race to entice the top recruits to come to their schools. While the major state institutions only allowed a trickle of black players in their programs, the vast majority of African-American football players prior to 1965 played at historically black colleges and universities. Many of these players were born on farms or in city slums with little to no formal football or traditional education training due to the lack of teachers and schools. But coaches with little notoriety or glamour gave themselves the love and passion for the game to entice these players to come to their schools but stay and work where they could have been making money in other places to get this education to go back out and teach the next generation and be a bridge builder as W.A. Drumgoole says in his famous poem, to help more people come along with you. These teachers of men faced inferior facilities at their schools, less than stellar equipment, and very few venues in which they can showcase the enormous talent of their players due to the racism and Jim Crow of that area. And that established a trend that continues to this day. Some of these pioneers will be right here. This is Coach Jake Gaither of Florida A&M. He's one of their famous coaches. You got right here the legendary Eddie Robinson of Grambling State University. At one time, he was the winningest coach of all of college football, and he's done so much for the game. At Grambling State, again, Grambling State has more players in the NFL Hall of Fame than Louisiana State University in the same state, and they're in the SEC. And right here, you have the legendary Big John Merritt of Tennessee State University. So right there, we see monumental coaches that changed the outlook of historically Black college football in the past. In the present, we have coaches like, again, Sean Gilbert of Livingstone College, Tyrone Wheatley of Morgan State, Coach Sanders of Jackson State, Coach Hugh Jackson of Grambling, and other great coaches, Coach Damon Wilson of Bowie State, Coach Terry Sims of Bethune-Cookman University. So many other great Black college coaches out here that need to be given their due and their roses while they can still smell them. So in closing, what would we like to address? What can we learn from our children who are choosing their own historically Black colleges and universities versus the predominantly white institutions that have got the number one Black players to shift since integration? Can we do the same as these players do in football? Can we do this when we buy, shop, and spend our money? What about investing in our schools' facilities that will help get the recruits that we formerly had, and that would be sure that we get these signees and we show the part that we want them by having comparable facilities and amenities that these larger schools. Remember, if African Americans don't go to historically Black colleges and universities, then they will dissolve. So ultimately, it is our part and our duty to keep these schools running. So I would like to thank everyone for tuning in to this week's episode of Sports 101. I'm your host, Jamar Harp. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Coach_Harp412 and Facebook under Jamar Harp. Please get social with Sports 101 and the litany of other shows on SportsZone Chicago by following SportsZone Chicago on social media. You can follow SportsZone Chicago on Twitter at SportsZone CHI, Facebook at SportsZone Chicago, and Instagram at SportsZone Chicago. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, search SportsZone Chicago, but more importantly, download the SportsZone Chicago app. The SportsZone Chicago app can be found in the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Again, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Sports 101. I will see you again next week on our normally scheduled time, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Remember, each one must teach one. Historically Black colleges now, historically Black colleges in the future, historically Black colleges always. We must protect our own. I'm your host, Jamar Harp. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm gone. All right.